I'm going to be telling you the big differences between the Fender Player 2 series and the brand new Fender Standard series. Let's go. Fender recently released the brand new Standard series, their most cost-effective and easiest step into the iconic brand. Made in Indonesia as opposed to the Mexican Player 2 series, these are a much more easily accessible guitar for a lot more folk. Now, I'm not going to be going too much into the Standard range today because we actually have already done a video on them. If you want to check more about what they are, then click the link above my head, it'll take you to that video. But what I'm going to clear up in this video is the big difference between the Standard series and the Player 2 series, because maybe people are not too sure about what the big differences are. Now, if you just want to hear the sound difference between the two of these, there's going to be a dedicated section in this video where I talk about the pickups and the sounds. But first, I'm going to go over a bit of a list about the kind of main differences. So let's just jump right in. So as I mentioned right at the start, probably one of the biggest differences are the fact that the new Standard range are made in Indonesia as opposed to the Ensenada, Mexico factory, where the kind of entry-level Fenders have been coming from for many, many years now. The Standard series aren't replacing the Player 2 series, but with the changes that they have made on the Player 2, it can kind of be looked at as a slightly more premium guitar. Now, that's obviously up for debate, depending on how you look at it, but certainly with some of the slightly more premium features you are getting on the Player 2, the Standard series is a bit more kind of just back to basics, really. So if you do really care about where your guitar is made, that's something to take into consideration. Another massive difference with the guitars is the body woods that have been used. Now, traditionally, Fender have used alder and a couple of other woods over their many, many years, but alder's kind of the main go-to wood that they will use. What they've opted for on the Standard series is poplar. Now, these are both quite similar. I think they come from like quite similar families as well, and certainly when you're chucking a bunch of distortion at it, then you're not really going to hear the difference. And if we're talking weight-wise as well, yeah, we're probably looking at about the same. Now, one of the biggest areas for change have been the necks. Now, the Player 2 series, they introduced rolled fingerboard edges on the modern C shape, which Fender have used for a lot of their guitars. Now, this just means that the fingerboard edges are rolled, quite frankly. It just means that there's not so much of an edge there, you know, kind of a bit of a shelf. It's a bit easier for your thumb to get around, a little bit more comfortable. Now, the Standard series, it's a bit more back to basics with that. It doesn't mean that it's sharp, it doesn't mean that there's any sort of resistance against it, but certainly if you get both in your hands, you're going to feel the differences. But the Standard series has also opted for the modern C shape, so it's going to feel the same under your hand. Now, I'll need to get the Telecaster for this one, because one of the other major differences is the use of Indian laurel on the boards for the darker woods. Now, the Player 2 introduced rosewood again, back to the Fender line, what a lot of people were happy about, but the Standard series has gone for a laurel. But let's be honest here, you're not really seeing a difference with those, and if I'm being honest as well, when I've been playing them, I haven't noticed the biggest of differences. I think the cuts and the choices of wood that they're using are a lot better, certainly, than we've seen in the past. And I think for anybody who doesn't know, you're probably not going to know. But as we're talking about the necks as well, one of the differences that actually took me a little second to notice, the Standard series is going for that more classic 21 fret, like Fender vibe, whereas the Player 2 has got 22 frets on it. That matters to you, it's something to take into consideration, especially if you're out with that dusty end there. Now, the sounds are coming up, but there's just a couple of other things that I want to mention. Obviously, when it comes to aesthetics, the logos are slightly different on there. Not the biggest of differences, but it's something to take into consideration. And then if we're talking about the hardware, The Player 2 has got that kind of classic gear, sort of like old school sort of look to it, whereas the Standard series here, I've went for that more kind of closed the back sort of option. Now, to be completely honest about it as well, I do feel a little bit of a difference in the tuners. It's not the biggest, but certainly the ones that you're getting on the Player just feel that little bit more accurate, you know, when you're twisting them. Not to say that you can't get that with the Standard series, but the ones on the Player 2 are definitely an upgrade, so bear in mind. It is worth saying when it comes to the pickups as well that the pickups on the Standard series here are the standard ceramic single coils, whereas on the Player 2 they are Player 2 Alnico 5 pickups. So they are going to have a slightly different sort of sound characteristic, and you'll hear them just coming up in the sounds. Okay, thanks for sticking with me. We're just going to jump into some sounds here. I'm going to go through all of the pickups positions and just kind of implement a little bit of gain, a little bit of delay and whatnot, just so you can kind of get a bit of a sort of palette of sounds, shall we say. But I'm going to be doing the Standard series into the Player 2. You'll know it from the stickers as well. The Standard series has got the white sticker on the pickguard there, whereas the Player 2 series has got the black sticker on it there. Let me know if you can hear a difference down in the comments. What? Well, hopefully that gave you an idea about the differences in sounds between the two guitars, and hopefully my list sort of gave you an idea about the major differences between them. Now, is that going to really make a difference when you're playing this on stage or, you know, for recording or anywhere? I don't think so. You kind of go for the which one suits you the best, but definitely there's things to consider. And in all honesty, I think it's really cool to see that Fender have now got kind of varying different levels again to their instruments. You know, if you want the slightly fancier pieces, you've got the Player 2. If you just want a nice sort of, you know, bread and butter version of a Stratocaster or a Tele or anything like that, then do check out the Standard series. And also check out our video reviewing them if you haven't already seen it. But let us know down in the comments below what you think about the brand new Fender Standard series. And while you're there, give us a like and a subscribe because you can keep up with all the latest news at Guitar Guitar HQ. But until next time, I've been Kieran, and this has just been a quick look about the kind of major differences between the Player 2 and the Standard series. Have a great day.